Right, let's get stuck into this important information. It's a big game, we have to play a part. Let's just get on with it, cut straight to the chase, as they say, and look at this Sestu KV Act. And most people should be very familiar with the Sestu KV Act of 1666, because for the last few years during this trauma which we've all been through, we have seen this logo numerous times passed about in memes. But to be honest, and we've seen the number 1666, 666 so many times, but to be honest, we should be more aware of this seal, this logo, than we probably are. And I want to take a look at this logo, because in order to beat the law, we need to play them at their own game, basically. And this here, the Sestu KV Act 1666, no matter where you are in the world, you are controlled by this act. And it's a very important act, and this chapter in particular, everything is in numbers, and 666 is the year, we are told, when this act was brought upon the people. But chapter 11, 18 and 19, chapter 2, these numbers to Kabbalists are very important, because the number 666 relates to our DNA. It also represents the three spirals, which are the upper world, the crown, the middle world, where the 12 houses are, and the lower world, which is the face of the deep, or the darkness of the face of the deep, the void where chaos and disorder reign. And the 666 has much more to it. Many people talk about 6 neurons, 6 protons and 6 electrons, but we know that this is false. The true symbol really represents the spiral, 3 spirals, and that 3 spirals represent what I'm going to talk about in the heavens today. And I'm going to show you this coat of arms, which of course everyone in the world should be familiar with, because the entire world is controlled by the Sestu KV Act of 1666. Every child that's registered with the state are registered lost at sea, and are under the statutes of Admiralty and high sea, the laws of the high seas, which of course are all to do with navigational laws concerning Polaris and the North Celestial Pole. So we are classed or deemed lost at sea by the ones who rule us. And no matter where you are in the world, this will be on any official documentation regarding your citizenship or the ownership, who owns you. Now what I'm going to do is talk about this seal, and how this seal, which we're all familiar with within the United Kingdom, within the British Covenant lands, this seal has a lion and a unicorn. And of course everybody knows that the unicorn has the crown around his horn, around his head. And for those who follow my work, the horse or the unicorn, the word horse is the word hippo to the Greek people, who were seafaring people. Their boats, as were the Phoenicians and the Canaanites, their boats, like the story of the wooden horse of Troy, their boats were horses, and it was the head. And the hippo, or the hippocampus to the Greek, is where we get the word horse and head, the hippocampus. So what we're looking at here is a unicorn. Now, the word unicorn in itself is quite unique, because everything is a spell. I'll go back to this chapter 118. In Masonic lodges, everything is in chapters, and the word chapter is a very important word. Whenever you see the word chapter, take note. But the number 118 represents the one pillar, which is the 3 pillars of masonry. 1 pillar, 2 pillars, and the 8 would represent the 8 Kundalini serpents or wines in the centre. So 118, I don't know if you've seen my previous posts, I've done posts before. 118, 118, we've got your number. The advert for the telephone line system, free call number, whatever it was, that was changed from 192, which was, of course, is 911. 192 is 19 Roman numeral 11. So we also had the 911 code in our emergency numbers, and then we ended up with 192 again with the 911. We have the 999, or we had 999, now it's 911. These were all the emergency numbers. So the number 118, 911, they all represent levels on the tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, your 9 chakras, or your 8 chakras, or so on. And whenever you see the word 118, take note, because what it is actually addressing, and Sestu KV Act, what it's actually addressing is your physical body. 118, because your body has the 3 pillars. Your right side, which is the right hand of God, which I'm going to speak about here in a moment. The right hand of God, that which is in the right of God, which is the unique horn. Like I said a few moments ago, this word unicorn in the heavens, it's in the heavens too. These things are all in the heavens. The crown is in the heavens, the corona is in the heavens, the cross is in the heavens, the fleur de lis is in the heavens. These dragons and lions, the 3 lions are the 3 levels over the head, the lower body, and the lowest part of the body, the lower world, which I spoke about in the last recording. And this is the spine of Albion with the crown at the very top. I will in a moment load up the software, and we'll look at each part of this crown. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, this represents the spine of Albion, Britain, the crown, and the movements of the constellation. And we'll look at the Stellarium software. I'll edit it into this recording, but what I want to do is look at the symbols. So the 118 represents the 1 pillar, the 2 pillars of masonry, and the 8, or Jacob's ladder, the chakras in the middle. 119 is the higher crown. These are all important Kabbalistic numbers. And it says here, Du et mon droit. And do you know what that means? Anybody can go and search this out. Basically that means God is my right. It can be translated various ways. God is my right hand is God, or God is my right. Of course, the way it's written here by our controllers, or the way it's presumed here, I suppose, is God is my right. Now let me on this explain a little here. The word right is very important. Jesus said to his disciples, cast your net to the right side. And they caught 153 fish. 1 and 5 and 3 is 9, which is completeness. And 9 would take you 1, 8, 9. It would take you to the crown. Right, so 9's a magic number. When he was telling them to cast his net to the right hand side, he was talking about the right hand of God. And what I hope to show in these recordings is how they suppress us under the law by us not knowing what the right hand of God, and by not knowing what the unicorn is. And because we don't know what the right hand of God and what it means in the heavens to be on the right hand of God, or to sit in the right hemisphere of the mind, the hippocampus, the mind, the hippo, the horse. And when we look in the heavens, there are horses in the heavens on the east side of the spine of Albion. And not just that, if anyone who's familiar with my work, they'll know that there are two kelpies next to the Triple Helix Park in Falkirk, the Falkirk Wheel, and a number of other items where horses or hippocampuses, which are also the kelpies, the Scottish kelpies. This is where the story in the mythology is for us. But on the right hand side of Scotland we have these structures known as kelpies. In the heavens above Scotland, Dundee, Fife, out there to the North Sea, over there we have a movement of a constellation known as Pegasus. It moves around the North Celestial Pole, and Pegasus is the horse. Down in Orion's belt in the central area we have a unicorn. It's known as the monoceros, the single mind, the single thinker, and it's the unique horn that sits under Orion's belt, and it sits above the Argus Navi. And those who follow my work will be familiar with the term Argus Navi. Now, these things which I'm speaking about, the Argus Navi, the unicorn, can all be seen here in this shield. The shield itself represents the ship, your family crest, your lineage, your inheritance, your estate. But it represents the boat travelling around the buckler and the anchored. And you have the unicorn anchored, because we foolishly have lost touch, completely lost any touch with the heavens, and so they're ridiculing us and have the unicorn, which is on the east side of Scotland. They have it not just shackled and chained, which is what Paul talks about. He talks about in the book of, not Paul, it's Jude, sorry, in the book of Jude, in the previous recording, let me correct that. In the book of Jude, in the previous recording, he talks about the beasts, or those angels. We discovered that it's not just, it's not angels as we understand, or we have been brought to think of angels with a human form, or a living form as a man or a woman with wings, but rather these are creatures. And not just creatures, but these are creatures who had an estate. And what we're looking at here in this logo of the British Crown, because if you haven't guessed yet, this is what it is. The British Crown are making a statement to say they've changed the unicorn down, and you and I are the unique horn, and they've changed it down, but they have declared in their Latin translation here, God is my right. Duet Mondroit. God is my right. It isn't like that, people. You see, Orion's belt, under Orion's belt, Orion represents the Nimrod. The Bible talks about Nimrod. To the Egyptians, Orion was Osiris. Osiris was the god of the dead. In fact, Osiris is the god of the dead. And Orion is Osiris. And the legal system, Orion, is the eon, or the light of the eon, or the darkness even, that keeps us in bondage. Because the Orion represents the rebel within us. The one who says, who's standing before Taurus, the Aleph, The Aleph is the ox, the Aleph and the Taf, the Alpha and the Omega. The Taurus field, which is the core of the circle, which we're seeing here. This is the belt of the circle around the boat. This is the Taurus field, the toroidal field, and above it sits the crown. And below it is the toroidal field that spews out. But we're being controlled by this lower world. And it's all here, written in the heavens. And they're taking a mockery of us, because the salvation of God and sovereignty lies in knowing the journey through the heavens. And at the very top of the heavens we've got the corona borealis, sitting above the Taurus field. But you have Orion, who represents the god of the dead, and this is what this legal system is. It's you holding on to materialism. It's the Nimrod, the rebel, the one who's shaking the club. As I've said many times, it's a big club, but you're not part of it. And it is true, because Orion's club has a magnificent light in it, and it's called Beetlejuice. We all know the movie, Beetlejuice. Well, Beetlejuice means the house of God. Bethel. Guys, disguised. The house of God disguised. And the way through to the kingdom of heaven is the North Celestial Pole through the Taurus field. But in order to get through the Taurus field, and this is what the story of Nimrod is about, you have to put down that Nimrod rebellious spirit that is going through the 12 houses of the ecliptic, travelling through Leo, in the roaring sun of Leo, in the summer and the burning heat of Leo, and between Leo and Aries. It's all written in the heavens, and this is what they're showing us here. They're showing us their dominion. It's divided into 4, this shield. This circle represents the Taurus in the heavens, which I'll go through and add to on this video. I'll show in Stellarium exactly what I'm talking about. I'll try and repeat even more or less what I'm talking about here, especially in regards to the right hemisphere of the brain, because this logo represents the brain. This is the left hemisphere, emotion, the feminine side, and this emotion and logic, and this here is the less physical, but the wings of Pegasus, the wings of the unicorn. The unicorn doesn't have a wings unless it's My Little Pony, but the unchained horse, the hippocampus, the kelpie, the creature that can go up into the upper realms or down into the lower realms. And this is what this symbolism's all about. But these 3 lines represent the celestial houses, the zodiacal houses, and Leo and Virgo, as we see on the Sphinx, because in the house of Leo and Virgo, this is where you're born again, born anew, directly under the unicorn. Directly under that is the unicorn and Sirius and the Argus Navi ship. The thing is, you have to get off the ship with your name intact, and this is where the legal system comes in. You have to know that there's a ship up there called the Argus Navi, which I'll show in this next video, and you have to get off that ship, and at the very top of Heaven's throne you have the lyre, the harp, which we recognise with the Irish harp. And the reason why I'm doing a study on that just now, and I'm showing people that sorry, the Tuath Danann were actually from Aberdeenshire, the Dawn, the Council of the Dawn, the Adonai, the Caledonia, the Cauldron of the Adonai, Caledonia, and they stole the harp, which was a musical instrument, which sits as a constellation over the north of Scotland, known as the lyre. They stole the harp, and they stole a chest, and this is the chest with the 4 items, the magic items in it: the lightning bolt of Zeus, the rod of Poseidon, and these became the 4 items of the Tuath Danann. But these were the 4 divisions that divided the north, south and east and west, the celestial winds, the celestial heavens, or the solstice lines, which are defined, as I've shown in other videos, by the fault line that runs from Inverness all the way down to Argyll and Bute, which is straight down the middle here. But anyway, back to the unicorn. The unicorn sits below Orion's belt, and the unicorn represents you, your unique Christ oil, which of course they do not want to be illuminated. And they certainly don't want the crown to be illuminated. So they have these phallic symbols, because that's what the fleur-de-lis represents. It represents a womb. It represents the woman's fornax, because a woman has a fornax in her womb. It represents her clitoris. It represents a new birth, but you can see in here that it's darkened, just as it's darkened down the bottom, whereas our crowns, our pineal glands should be bright and illuminated, just as a unicorn's horn is bright and illuminated. And the crown, which is on this lion, which represents Leo, I'll get into that in other studies. The reason why Leo is there is because, and I'll say briefly here, but it is in other studies, is because Leo represents when a disaster happened. The sun split in Leo and Virgo, and the twins Gemini or Sirius and our present day sun were born, and Leo represents Sirius, arise sir, which is the Sirius which sits at the Argus Navi in the heavens, which I'll also mention when we're looking at the heavens. But what we see here is I demand to sit at the right of God, whereas each one of us as the Elohim, the living source of creation, we are the image of God. He has given us, the divine source has given us not just the signs in the heavens, but he's given us the signs in our family crests, in our heirlooms, and in our arms, our coats of arms. I was speaking to somebody the other week there, and I'm trying to keep these recordings to about 20 odd minutes, because people switch off after a while. But I was saying to someone the other week there, when you receive a debt letter or a letter from one of these Scotland Co, or these are the ones, the debt collectors in Scotland, when you receive a letter, it actually says on the envelope, man at arms. Now the reason it says man at arms is exactly the area of the heaven where the law sits. The law sits in your selfish desires, that Nimrod, that rebel within you that says, no, I am not going through the Taurus field, I'm not going beyond this material world into the spiritual golden lamb, the golden fleece. I'm not being the Jason of the Argonaut story. I'm going to just stay on the ship and go back down into materialism. And this is what the story in the heavens about. The story in the heavens is about coming off the ship of materialism, and the story of our control is the mockery of the fact that we do not come off the ship, and that we do not even see the citizenship, the statehood, which is a hood wink over us, but it is written in the heavens. And this shield represents not just the estates in the heavens, but our family names represent these lions, and the Lord Lion was the man at arms. He was the one who decided in Scotland, in the ancient Celtic tradition, not just in Scotland, but throughout the Celtic and Bardic world, the Lord Lion. And the reason why he was the Lord Lion is because each territory within Britain had a hill or a mountain that looked like a sphinx, or it looked like a lion. Who put it there, I don't know. Whether it was natural or shaped, I don't know. But you go to Dumbarton, you go to Argyllshire, and I'm sure it's the same in Ireland, and I'm sure it's the same in Wales, because I know it's the same in Edinburgh, I know it's the same in the north of Scotland, I know it's the same near Tain, I know it's the same beyond Inverness. There are hills that are shaped like a sphinx, just like the sphinx of the Giza pyramids, which are newer than the hills and the standing stones that we have all over Scotland. Yes, that's what I'm saying. The Sphinx and everything in the Giza plateau are newer than what exists in the lands of Britain and on the spine of Albion. But Each territory, wherever you visit in Scotland, not only do they have the markings of the valleys representing the stars, the standing stones directing us to the exact stars, and the story of the law written on stone, they also have the hills in the shape of a lion. And this is where the house of the Lord Lion comes in. And this is why they have a lion also on there, holding the shield of the family crests. Now, you get a lot of people that say, I am Brian Williams, or Brian of the family of Williams, or James of the family of Henderson, or Peter of the family of Dunbar, or you get my drift. Why is that popular? Why is that happening? Because it's your family crest that represent the heavens above. Each family crest comes from a designated asterism or house in the ecliptic, or above the ecliptic. And depending where your ancestors came from, if you were a McAllister, you were likely more up north, you would have a celestial heritage or a badge, and the Lord Lion would recognise that badge and allow you to bear arms. And so this all ties to the legal system. When that man-at-arms comes to your door, a bailiff, and says, you owe me money, and he shows you this logo with a court order, when you learn about the heavens, you can turn around and say, I owe you nothing. You owe me. You're committing fraud. Let me tell you about the lion. Let me tell you about the unicorn. Let me tell you about the family crest. Let me tell you about my name and what my crest means in the heavens. Let me tell you what rule of law I have over you. Do you know about the heavens? Do you know about the upper world, the crown? Do you know about the celestial houses? Do you know about the lower world, who you work for? Do you know you work for the lower realm? And I bet you when half of these people come to the door, these bailiffs, these men at arms, when you're able to say to them, this is my family name, I'm a living being. When you're able to say that, they won't be hanging about much longer. You see, there are people putting templates galore into this system, against this system, all over the world. People have realised that it comes back to the bar, and I'm going to show as I go on where the bar is and where the legal system is, and why the whole world is controlled by the legal system. I've already done talks showing that wherever you go in the world, there's this tree of life, and the tree of life is everywhere, whether it's Incan, Mayan, Chinese, Japanese, Hawaiian, British, Celtic, Galatian, Indian, Pakistani. It doesn't matter. The same tree is the same story worldwide, because there's one tree. And when you realise that the law is the bar, and the word bar is a mitzvah, and a mitzvah is a command. You've heard the word bar mitzvah. The invented Jews have a bar mitzvah. They have a Brit Milah before they are the covenant. But really Britain is the covenant lands, and the tree is here. And we send the symbols of the heavens out to the whole world, and they're all under that law, under that tree. But that tree is not the tree of life, and this is what I'm trying to show people. That tree is the lower realm, the third realm, the lower world, that holds on to the three pillars, that drags us down into that lower world. And once we understand the heavens, and can see the symbolism in the heavens, and understand what the three lines and the three levels of the lower world, the middle world, and the upper realm, heaven, really mean, and what Corona really means in regards to the heaven, and how we, the called out one, the son of the living one, Heracles, the called out one, until we learn who we are, the called out one, and that we are already standing on that dragon, the Hydra, and the Draco, And we have already defeated the beasts in the heaven. Once we realise that, and we've moved our minds, because this hippocampus and this lion is the heart, your lion heart. Your heart and your mind are connected, and you need to connect the two together to rise up in the right hemisphere of the mind. But once we connect this, we don't need to fight them with templates and letters, and we can fight them on our own doorstep and stop them taking our doorstep, our homes away from us, once we know the heavens again. So in the next recording I'm going to show the heavens and how these emblems and the theology behind these emblems are the journey through the heavens. Awen. Divine inspiration and peace to everyone. Stay tuned for the next part.